If you checked on the crypto markets at all in the last month or so, you're probably scratching your head going, what is going on? Bitcoin is still below its prior all-time high after breaking above it briefly earlier this year, and we've seen mostly downward price action in almost all cryptocurrencies for the past 6 months. And many fear that we're entering into an extended bear market and that the 4-year cycle is completely off the table. So what actually is going on? Are we in a bear market? Is the 4-year cycle dead? Or can things improve from here and the bull run continue? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who works this technology on a daily basis, who's been in the crypto markets for over 7 years and watches this space day in and day out. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below. And while there's definitely some good money to be made in the crypto markets, the absolute best way to make life-changing money with this technology is to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer. And I can show you how to do that step by step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about the current state of the crypto markets and what the heck is going on, okay? So obviously nothing I'm saying in this video is designed to be financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. And nobody truly has a crystal ball to exactly know what's gonna happen next in this space. The best thing that we can do is look at things in terms of likelihood based upon data, and that's exactly what I'm doing in this video. So first, let's start off with a quick recap. So like I was saying at the beginning of this video, Bitcoin got above its prior all-time high early this year, back in March. And whenever that happened, a lot of people were thinking that we were just going to instantly rip off to new all-time highs, that the bull run was just going to go absolutely crazy at that point in time, but that's not what happened, okay? We've seen basically downward price action for the last 6 months, and this has got a lot of people scratching their heads going, what the heck is going on? What is this thing completely dead? So I want to start off with the first point, which is basically bringing the 4-year cycle into question, okay? So what is the 4-year cycle in case you've been living under a rock and don't know what that is? Well, basically that means if you look at Bitcoin's prior price history, okay, basically every 4 years we make a new all-time high and have an explosive parabolic blow-off top bull run shortly after we do that, okay? And there's a lot of theories as to why that's the case. The Bitcoin halving that happens every 4 years is traditionally thought to drive these cycles, but we're past the Bitcoin halving for this cycle and we're not seeing the normal behavior that we see after halvings in terms of this amount of time. That being said, we did go up higher in price than prior cycles, so that could affect things. But first of all, if you've watched any of the videos on my channel in the past and heard me talk about this, I'm not necessarily a huge believer in the magical 4-year cycle that just works like clockwork, where, every 4 years we have a happening and then we have a bull run, okay? I think truly what happens is crypto is a very reflexive asset. It goes up really fast. When it's going up fast, more people buy, and then that becomes unsustainable. And then whenever it goes down really fast. And then it takes time for all the people who got burnt to re-enter the markets, for new people to want to trust crypto as an asset class before the price continues moving forward. And so whether that takes 4 years in total from peak to peak, whether it takes 3 years, whether it takes 5 years, nobody really knows. We just need time in between these things for all this to play out. And while I think it's super unlikely that a single halving event around one blockchain on Bitcoin determines the fate of the entire crypto market and whether it goes up or down is not necessarily accurate, one thing that could be driving the crypto markets a lot more than people are willing to admit is the global liquidity cycles. Because you have to admit, Bitcoin and all of cryptos are cyclical. They tend to go up for a while. They tend to go down for a while. There is these rough time, frames between these two. They could exist for the reasons I mentioned, why you just need time in between cycles. But there could be a dominant influence that really affects this a lot more than people think, which is the global liquidity cycle. So basically, this just means the amount of money that's floating around the economy that wants to go into assets, okay? This could be many assets, it could be businesses, it could be real estate, it could be stocks, and also crypto. And crypto tends to be a sponge for global liquidity. Whenever it's an excess, crypto tends to just, soak that up, and that tends to correspond to the blow-off top price action that we've seen before. For example, in the last cycle, we saw global liquidity go up like crazy. One of the reasons is for low interest rates. And that corresponded to Bitcoin rocketing off to its prior all-time high and the insane bull run that we saw in 2021. So I think it's more likely that, a small economic change in the Bitcoin blockchain every 4 years has less to do with the overall market than all the money flowing around the economy that can go into crypto, because a small change in supply with the Bitcoin halving would have way less effect than a huge surge in demand that would come from global liquidity, which is also cyclical, which tends to correspond with the 4-year crypto cycles as we've seen in the past. Now, some positive developments for the crypto market is that the global liquidity is actually on the rise, okay? So one thing I want to mention is, the positive things for crypto in the future, which are the economy, all right? So the economy has been working against us for multiple years now. Basically, at the end of 2021, which is essentially the top of the prior crypto cycle, we saw a massive economic shift, okay? The economy was getting out of whack, inflation was going crazy, and the Federal Reserve of the United States decided to start increasing interest rates. Okay, that really happened in 2022, but markets are forward-looking. They saw that was going to happen. The market started to crash. It got worse and worse and worse, and continued to remain that way as interest rates continued to increase, as we've seen, ever since then. Now, the interest rates have stopped increasing, but they're still high relative to what they were in the last cycle. This affects things like the price of real estate. It affects how businesses spend money, and it also affects the crypto markets. And you have to understand this because crypto does not exist in a vacuum. It's influenced by other things like the broader economy, like what's happening in the stock market. And we need favorable fundamentals in terms of economics to be there for crypto to flourish and ultimately take off into the next expansion. And so with that being said, I want to note some positive things that are here in crypto's future that could set the stage for the next expansion of the crypto markets, despite everyone's fear about what's happening in the markets right now. So number one, like I was saying before, is interest rates have stopped increasing, and we have plans, as stated by the Federal Reserve, to start decreasing interest rates, actually lowering them systematically over the coming months and years, okay? Now, this is a positive thing for the crypto markets. As interest rates go down, I would expect that to have a positive influence in the crypto markets. Now, not necessarily on day one, okay? Sometimes it actually can be a bad thing for crypto in the short term. We've seen this in the past, but over the long term, as the rate environment gets more favorable, that should trickle down to the crypto prices. Again, not financial advice. That's just what I expect to happen. That being said, also global liquidity, as I mentioned before, is also on the rise. So if we have interest rates going down, global liquidity on the rise, basically more money flowing out in the economy that's going to go into assets that crypto is typically a sponge for, which has corresponded with the crypto cycles in the past. That going up is also a very good thing for the crypto markets down the road. And the last positive thing is, in my view, the worst for the crypto markets in terms of this cycle is probably behind us. I mean, if you're around in 2022, things were brutal. Okay, people were scratching their heads about what would happen in 2023. 2024, we went up really fast. Okay, it wasn't sustainable. We've been in downward price action for many months. And perhaps we have some more pain before things resume an upward trajectory. And maybe that is a bad thing, in the near future. But I anticipate, if that happens or not, that the best things are actually ahead of us for crypto in terms of my view, this likelihood, and that the worst is probably in the rearview mirror. Now, one other thing in the short-term future that you have to pay attention to for the crypto markets, unfortunately, is the United States elections for president in November, which is less than 60 days away at the time of recording this video. So why is this a big deal? Well, the presidential election will probably affect the crypto markets in some shape or form. So let's start off with the outcome of the elections. First of all, we've got obviously Trump running against Harris. Now let's talk about who's going to win and how would that affect the crypto markets. Well, love him or hate him, Donald Trump has been the pro-crypto president. And I expect that if he does, win the presidency, that it would likely have a positive influence on the crypto prices long term. Now, if Trump doesn't win and Harris wins, I don't think it's going to be like a death knell for crypto or anything like that. Crypto can still flourish regardless of who's president of the United States. But there will be one silver lining around this, regardless of who wins, which is whenever the elections are behind us, it gives more certainty to the market to know what to expect. Because again, markets are forward looking, and also markets hate uncertainty. And whenever there's an uncertain event on the horizon, like a presidential election, which if you look at the stats right now, looks kind of like a coin flip. We don't really know who's going to win. And once we know who won, the market knows what to expect, adjust accordingly. It takes that uncertainty off the table and lets us establish the next phase of the market. All right, so those are some of the dominant fundamentals that you have to pay attention to determine what could possibly happen next for crypto. So again, I said at the beginning of this video, Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. You have to think about these things in terms of likelihood, but you also have to think about them with the best educated guess that you can with all the available information out there. That's most of the information that I'm paying attention to in terms of fundamentals. Now, what are the possible outcomes and what do I think was likely to happen? So let's start with the first scenario. The first scenario is what a lot of people are fearing, is that was the top of the crypto market cycle in March of 2024, and that we're into a multi-year bear market, just like we've seen the last, several cycles. That basically that was the top. It happened really fast. Nobody expected it. And then now we're just down only for another 18 months or something like that. So I think that this is less likely, okay? Because of all the positive things that I think are happening for crypto in the future. I think it's more likely that the price will actually continue to increase. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Now, one other possibility is that this is kind of like a mid-cycle top, like we've seen in 2019, okay, where we saw dramatic price increase. Things got bearish for a lot of people wanted, and then we eventually had our parabolic blow-off top bull run later. Now, this is more likely than the extended bear market. If that were to happen, it would probably lead to a much more extended crypto cycle where we don't have a 4-year cycle. Maybe it's a 5.5, even 6-year cycle. So it could happen. Again, bottom line, nobody knows how much time it's going to take in between cycles. Nobody knows how quickly the interest rates are going to come down. Nobody knows what's going to happen, how quickly the global liquidity will rise, and how that all those factors will actually affect crypto. So we could have a much more extended cycle on our hands. I think it's more likely than extended bear market, but less likely than another scenario, which we'll talk about in a minute. Another view is that, hey, nothing has happened to the 4-year cycle. Okay, we're still on schedule because if you look at it, Bitcoin's price actually is about at the same level prior to the old all-time high that it was at this point in the last cycle, give or take. Okay, so if you subscribe to that view, then yeah, things actually could be directly on schedule. This was a massive fake out, and we start to see that parabolic blow off top happen at the end of this year, the beginning of next year, right on schedule. Okay. Now, this could happen. I think it's less likely to occur because, we need a lot of these positive catalysts, I think, to play out before that would happen. But again, sometimes the crypto market can surprise you. So it is a possibility on the table that I'm willing to adjust for and plan for accordingly. But the last possibility, which I think is the most likely, okay, is that the cycle is intact, that we're probably not going to go into extended bear market, that we could see some more chop here, some downward price action, maybe even a scarier dip, but that eventually we will resume the uptrend as a part of this much larger long-term trend that will carry us off to new all-time highs and beyond. Now, how much time is that going to take? Well, I don't frankly know the answer to that question. I'm going to wait to see, how these other factors play out, like the interest rates, like global liquidity, what the stock market's doing, what the overall markers of the economy are. And if those things turn out favorable, then I do expect the crypto market to correlate with those over the long term until it eventually does reach a cycle top. But again, I just think we need time in between cycles. Nobody knows how much time that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be, 5 years from now. I think it's going to be 10 years from now. I don't think it's super likely that it's going to be 2 months from now, if that kind of gives you a range. But I'm planning to stick with this through the next cycle, regardless of how long it takes, because I think, where I'm at now in the crypto markets, and a lot of you watching this video, if you've been in crypto for any length of time, just sticking with it's going to have a much better return, regardless of how long it takes, much faster than where you could allocate that capital somewhere else. Again, not financial advice. That's just my view. And finally, what does this mean for the blockchain industry? Because at the beginning of this video, I told you the best way to make life-changing money in this space is to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer, whether that's trying to get a job, trying to start your own business, create your own app, do DeFi, create passive income with blockchain. Well, the truth is that is still a thriving opportunity in this space. That's why I say it is the best way to make money off this trend, especially when you're just sitting here biding your time, waiting for crypto to do its thing, because that's something that you frankly don't have any control over, okay? You do have a lot of control over how you spend your time, how you learn new skills, and how you put those skills to use. And those skills are directly monetizable and can give you a huge edge in the crypto space. That's why I teach you all this stuff on this channel. And so if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe. And if you want to see how to take advantage of that opportunity that I'm talking about, then I can show you how to increase your income step by step and become a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.